Welcome to the Ask the Expert session. My name is Carla Bundick, Director of Business Development at SmithLife Homecare. I'm here with our honored guest, Jenica Cassidy, elder law attorney with Lerch, and Brewer law firm. And I'll introduce her more in depth in just a moment. SmithLife Homecare Ask the Expert series focuses on providing valuable information and resources to our community while helping them age in place. We are a sister company to Charles E. Smith Life Communities, another trusted brand for elder care in the community for over 110 years. We serve the Washington, D.C. and Montgomery County area. We are excited today to discuss the many ways that Lerch, and Brewer law firm is providing families and older adults with significant support and resources. So thank you again, Jenica, for taking time to be with us today. It's great to see you. Good to meet you for the first time. Could you please introduce yourself by your full name, job title, and the services you provide?
Yes, and Carla, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. My name is Jenica Cassidy. I am an attorney at Lerch, and Brewer, as Carla mentioned. We are a firm, a mid-sized firm in Bethesda, and I am in the Estates and Trusts practice group. So I help individuals, families prepare an estate plan, administer an estate for loved ones who've passed away, and I also practice elder law, which is we're going to get into the details of exactly what elder law is and the types of clients that I service.
Great, thank you for that. Jenica, tell us about you, and if you could just share why you had an interest in elder law and some of the issues that you encounter in your practice.
Sure, I love it. I love elder law because I get to work with people and I get to work with families. I get to help them navigate challenges, plan ahead to avoid crises, work them through crises and disaster situations. I get to, I span the gamut, and I love it because I get to work one-on-one with my clients.
Nice.
And it's
very
great.
Nice. Thank you for that. Can you share with our listeners some of the key questions that a family may want to ask on an initial consultation with an elder law attorney to plan for growing older and to assure that their affairs are in order and that my wishes would be honored?
Yes. Yes. So there's a few things to look at here. For individuals who are thinking about estate planning, what does that look like for me? What does that look like for my family? The biggest thing to do is to make sure that you put certain documents into place, legally effective documents that are going to honor your wishes if and when you pass away, if and when you lose capacity to handle your affairs on your own. And so in general, those documents look like in a standard estate plan, a power of attorney for finances, an advanced healthcare directive for healthcare decision-making, a will, or a revocable trust and a will, and then some additional documents regarding beneficiary designations on financial accounts and things like that. Okay. So I can get into each of those. Would now be a good time, Carla, to walk through each of those one by one?
Sure, that would be good.
And I'll just go quickly over this. And I should put a caveat that I'm talking about, this is pretty state specific stuff. And so right now we're talking about primarily Maryland residents and DC and a little bit of Virginia, but primarily Maryland and DC. But the first two big documents, everyone needs to have these two in place, whether you're 18 and healthy or you're 95 and you've reached the later years of your life. The power of attorney for finances is where you designate someone, a trusted individual, to help you handle your financial affairs, go to the bank, pay your bills, access your money, if there ever comes a time where you're unable to do so on your own. The advanced healthcare directive is similar in that you are naming a trusted individual to handle your affairs if you lose capacity to do so on your own. If your doctors are not able to communicate with you, God forbid you've had a stroke, or you're young and healthy and you get in a car accident. These are really tough situations that we can get into if we haven't set up these 2 documents in place and something happens to us. Our family, no one's going to have legal authority to handle our affairs, and then our family's going to have to go to court and get a guardianship.
Yes. And can they be the same person, financial and healthcare?
Yes, it often is. Oftentimes spouses will name one another. We can name whomever we'd like, but and then we name a backup. And in the advanced directive, that's also where we can get into the tough questions of, if I'm in a situation where my doctors believe that I'm near the end of my life, I'm not able to communicate, what would I like my doctors to do? Do I want to get pain medication?
Yes.
For management of my pain? Do I want a feeding tube if I need a feeding tube? Do I not want a feeding tube? This document is fantastic for laying out those items. It's really a gift that we're doing by thinking about these tough topics in advance, giving a gift to our loved ones so that they don't end up in a terrible situation of wondering what we would want to happen. So think about these things ahead, write them down, make it legally effective, put it away, and then you don't have to think about it again unless your wishes change.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said it's a gift, because I truly believe the same thing. It is a gift, because there could just be so much disarray in a family having to go through this if it's already not in writing. So thank you for sharing that. In the state of Maryland, they have, and I'm sure other states, the 5 wishes. Do you honor that?
Yes, this document works in conjunction with the 5 wishes. It also works in conjunction with what's some people may know as a DNR, or do not resuscitate, and also a MOLST form.
Yes.
The MOLST form, the DNR, those are doctor's orders. All of the documents are supposed to work together. In Maryland, we happen to refer to it as an advanced healthcare directive.
Yes.
And within that is something called the living will, and it's not great because different states and people use different names oftentimes to refer to similar documents.
Sure.
So it's best to talk to a professional to make sure that you're completing the right form and that it coincides with your wishes, and that it works in conjunction with the additional documents. Can get
very good. Thank you for that. If I already have an estate planning document in place, when would I need to update that? Is it something that we discuss as a family, or?
There are definitely certain, when we do our estate plans for our clients, our goal is that they can set them aside and not think about them ever again unless their life changes or their wishes change. They're meant to grow with the individual. But if certain things occur, if you have a death of a close person who you've named it as your decision maker, that's certainly a time to update it. If your financial situation changes substantially, if you get married, and if there's a birth of a child or a grandchild that you want to provide for. So we haven't gotten even into the will or anything else that happens after you pass away yet. But those 2 documents that I was talking about initially, those are for incapacity planning while you're still alive. Once you pass away, they become legally ineffective, and then the will and or the revocable trust then would take over.
Okay, very good. And what would I expect to pay, Jessica, for estate planning services? If my life is not complicated, I don't have a lot of issues, just for a will and a power of attorney kind of costs?
As lawyers like to say, that depends, of course. My hourly rate is $2.90, and some lawyers do a flat fee for a full estate plan. Some lawyers charge hourly. I generally do hourly. So for a single individual to do a comprehensive estate plan with the documents we've been discussing, it's a couple $1,000s generally. And that entails our initial meeting to talk about your wishes and your options, my drafting of the documents, and a follow-up meeting to discuss any revisions, to go over the documents together, and then to meeting for you to come in and sign the documents. They've got to be
Okay.
notarized and witnessed.
Sure.
And for married couples, it's generally about double that.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. If you could give us an example, if you can just kind of think recently or maybe in the past of how your services have benefited a family, is there any example that you can share with us?
Yes. Oh, we could spend hours on this.
I'm sure.
I'm just gonna pull a couple that immediately come to mind. I got a call from a woman who's lives in I think she lived Iowa. She was here visiting an aunt who was living on her own in the community. Noticed pretty quickly that aunt's health condition was declining rapidly. She wasn't able to feed herself, pay her bills. Her house got to be really too much, more than she could handle. She gave me a call. We walked through her options, the concerns, what exactly the aunt needed help with. It turns out the aunt had not done any estate planning prior to this. So we ended up having to go to court to get a guardianship, which we can maybe talk about at a later date.
Yes.
That individual, she became a guardian of her aunt. So then she was able to sell the home, move on into assisted living, which was a much safer situation.
Nice.
And get her set up financially secured, coordinating with doctors, things of that sort. A lot of these come down to safety concerns for older people that live in the community, that maybe they, we all want to be independent, and the law wants to honor that. And
That's right.
But sometimes it gets to the point where we need help. So that's where I can come in and help out families and individuals with.
Thank you for sharing that story. I'm sure it just meant the world to the family, and also for this new resident in assisted living, in a safer place, being engaged, having activities, and being cared for. So
exactly.
I appreciate that. How can I help? And a couple last questions. How can I help a loved one who can no longer handle their own affairs or make decisions?
This is hard. These are really tough situations. Sit down, talk with them, gently raise your concerns, gauge if they're open to help. Are there significant safety concerns that really need to be addressed immediately, or is this a slow process where we can build over time with trust? Determine exactly what they need. Is it paying bills? Is it moving to assisted living? Is it healthcare related? And then determine if they have documents in place that we briefly touched on, naming decision makers, who can handle their affairs if they aren't able to handle their affairs on their own. And then determine what resources are available. This oftentimes requires talking to an expert. We live in a community that we have so many resources, but it's just a matter of determining what is the appropriate one for me for this situation. So certain experts, attorneys, geriatric care managers, folks like you all at SmithLife, we can guide people to these resources. Yes. And then lastly, we may need to consider if a guardianship is needed if they don't have the documents in place. Yeah.
Appreciate that. So last question, how does our audience get in touch with you? Phone number, website, email? Yes, I am happy to give out my direct line. I like to pick up the phone when folks call. It's that's refreshing. On the website, but it's also, I'll just give it here. It's 301-347-1269. Also, my email is on my firm's website as well. So feel free to give me a call. If I don't pick up, leave a message. I'll usually get back to you in a day or two, or shoot me an email. Wonderful. Thank you. It has been a pleasure, Jenica, speaking with you today, learning about your firm, and it's certainly valuable and great resources for our families who sometimes just don't know where to begin, how to begin their start and the questions to ask. So appreciate your insight today. The information has been a great education for us. And thank you so much for being a partner to us. And we look forward to our continued partnership. Thank you for having me. Thank you.